time is finally here. It's 7 weeks until The Last Jedi comes out, and I'm reviewing every single Star Wars movie in the saga. Episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and Episode 7, The Force Awakens, and I can't believe I'm doing this. Guys, I have loved Star Wars throughout my life. That is nothing new. I'm sure you've heard this from a million people, and I've actually started with the prequels. I was 6 years old when The Phantom Menace came out. I did not watch it then, but I watched it around the time when Attack of the Clones came out in theaters, and that one I did watch in theaters. But we'll leave Attack of the Clones till next week. I was a kid when I watched The Phantom Menace, and I am one of those people who grew up with the prequels, and I am one of the people who doesn't like the prequels. I have nostalgic memories of watching these films as a kid. I have nostalgic memories of enjoying these films, and I still have respect for these films. You know why? Because every year I watch these movies. Yes, I watch, since 2015, every single 7 episodes of Star Wars, because no matter how I feel about them, they are Star Wars. And if you ask me if The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith have a good story, yes, they have a good story. If you ask me, do you want to know the origins of Darth Vader in a trilogy? Hell yes, I do. However, the prequels did not tell their story right. In this film, the Trade Federation wants to invade, so Palpatine infiltrates the Senate so Queen Amidala signs a peace treaty, also giving a vote of no confidence to Chancellor Valorum, so Palpatine can replace the latter so he can work in the shadows with the Trade Federation in cohorts. That's the basic plot of this film. It's political jargon and reunions, unlike in the original trilogy, for comparison in this instance only. In the original trilogy, Palpatine Darth Sidious wants to turn Vader against Luke, father against son. It's simple, it's direct, but it carries this overwhelming emotional weight to it, and it drives the characters, giving them a pathos and an arc. And these Senate meetings and these Jedi reunions to talk about little Anakin take up the majority of the film. Coruscant takes the majority of the film, and Coruscant is indeed a magnificent world full of so many things to explore, including the Senate and the Jedi Council. However, this film is riddled with scenes in Coruscant that basically involve scenes with people sitting and talking, walking and talking, sitting while another person walks and talks. And that is the meat of this film, guys. Do I need to explain what is wrong with that? In screenwriting, when you have exposition, and that's the majority of this film, you need to make it interesting somehow. You need to have something interesting in the background. You need to have something interesting happening, be it an action scene or a funny scene. Look at Power Rangers this year. Power Rangers had an aggressively expositionary scene. As I said in my review, it's blatantly an exposition scene. However, these characters and the actors playing the characters are bringing out their full emotion in this scene, telling us what drives them, what is there for us to care about these characters. That's what makes it work. In the scenes in The Phantom Menace, people are rambling and talking about stuff that doesn't matter for shit. The thing in Star Wars is that political conflict is always there, and it can be very interesting. Look at the canon books right now, look at the original trilogy, there's still some political intrigue there, but it's there, it's urgent. The characters in there are discussing something urgent that is happening at the moment that they are talking about it. In The Phantom Menace, they are talking about stuff they want to do, so it leads to one point, and on that point, they can maybe have something accomplished. And that brings no urgency to this narrative. Now, to this day, I adore this poster. If I could find one, I would buy it and I would put it right there on the wall, even though to this day I still have nothing on there. I know, I suck. But then George Lucas, bringing us Anakin Skywalker, who would eventually become Darth Vader, gave us this.
Are you an angel? An angel. I heard the deep space pilots talk about them. They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe. I'm a pilot, you know, and someday I'm gonna fly away from this place. All my life, I'm a person, and my name is Anakin. Yippee!
Now, I'm not digging on Jake Lloyd. It's not fair because the guy has had enough digging at him by many fans who were aggressive directly or indirectly towards him, and he does have some mental issues history. I know how tough that can be myself. So I am not digging on Jake Lloyd himself. I am digging on the character of Anakin Skywalker, how he was portrayed, and how George Lucas wrote him in this and other films.
Yippee!
I know I'm only talking about the bad things in this movie, but we'll get to the good things. There are good things in The Phantom Menace. It's not an irredeemable film by any stretch of the imagination. But let's talk about midichlorians. So in this film, George Lucas decides to explain the Force, and therefore the Force loses all mystery and mysticism. In this film, it gets cemented on the floor that the Force is something that everyone and anyone can or could eventually grasp onto and understand, because it is now a science. A science. It is a science, and I hate science. I've always hated science. That's why I love Star Wars. It's not science. It's fantasy. God damn it, George Lucas. Those were my notes, by the way. I nearly forgot to talk about something. And that is the one thing that, despite everyone talking about this film, I still have to bring it up. And that is Jar Jar. Fucking Jar Jar. I'm not even going to talk about how he is racist and he portrays this ugly, offensive stereotype, but Jar Jar... Why does Jar Jar exist? Yes, Jar Jar is that bad. Don't even comment. Jar Jar is not that bad. Jar Jar is the epitome of what I hate in film. An offensive, useless, and annoying character that does nothing, literally nothing. In fact, he does something, and that is derive our characters from moving on in the narrative. He only delays them. He only does stupid things he shouldn't do, things no one should think of doing, and that is Jar Jar in a nutshell. Jar Jar sucks. Fuck you, Jar Jar. I am glad this one is the movie that you're the most in. Whew, I can breathe now. In summary, if I have to just quickly go through all my cons with The Force Awakens, it is the lack of focus. It's the lack of a protagonist. You can't tell me Qui-Gon is a protagonist. You can't tell me Obi-Wan is a protagonist, because apart from the third act, he basically does nothing. Qui-Gon is barely a developed character in this, and Anakin comes in midway through the film only to be a plot device. Anakin in The Phantom Menace is a plot device.
Yippee!
It's the piss-poor dialogue written by George Lucas, which only helps the enjoyability of Darth Maul, because he barely has any dialogue from George Lucas to read out. It's the lack of urgency because of all the political bullshit we can find in this film. The over-reliance on CGI and the lack of real environments and sets for the characters and for the actors to feel like they are somewhere real. Go look at the making of, at the extra scenes in the Blu-ray or DVD, whichever one you have. There's barely anything that these actors found themselves in that was not a green or a blue screen. And let's not get started in the lack of emotion of the characters. Everyone has this monotonous voice which only mirrors the monotonous political meetings which always feel the same. And the characters in this film always speak with the same tone, with the same delivery, and they feel like they are dying or they are dreading doing what they do. Not even the actors, the characters themselves. That only speaks to the talent of the actors, because they are putting their emotions forth and their emotion is lack of one. And you can tell because the scenes where the actors seem most into it, more emotional than ever, are the excellent fight sequences in this film. Yes, we finally got to the good parts of The Phantom Menace. The fight scenes in this film are excellent. And especially the last one, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul. This one is phenomenal, and the cherry on top is John Williams' Duel of the Fates. The whole score in general is just as masterful as in all other Star Wars movies that were scored by John Williams, but this one is maybe top 5, top 3 Star Wars pieces of music. And I love this fight sequence. This one you have tension because the actors and the characters are in it. They are giving it their all. The emotion is there. You feel it, you see it in their eyes, in their body language, in everything. Though Obi-Wan should have done his speed run through the laser doors, George Lucas. I do love this fight sequence because of how different it is from the original trilogy. Sure, you can credit it to the advancement in technology and times, but I love, just like how in The Force Awakens the style of fighting is different, I love how in here it is different. It displays how cinematically different styles of fight scenes can all be great. These are different than the ones in the original trilogy, and that makes both of them great. I will also be honest, the special effects don't hold up very well today, and eventually they will look like shit. They still don't look like shit. These days they do look subpar, but I think at the time they were done, these were masterful special effects. And something that does hold up to this day is the sound design in this film. It is magnificent, and the Blu-ray transfer really helped it. I think the sound design in The Phantom Menace is some of the best sound design till this day in film. Guys, The Phantom Menace is truly not horrible. Is it a bad movie? Yes. I don't like The Phantom Menace. I respect the redeemable aspects it has. Whenever the actors and the characters are giving that all, you can see it, and I am happy to admit it because it's there and I am glad it's there. There is a masterful score, a masterful sound design in general, and the special effects for their time were indeed excellent. But I am afraid the over-reliance on CGI will cost them in time, just like the overabundance of subplots will cost this movie. The Phantom Menace has some redeemable qualities. It can be enjoyed at points, but overall it's a very weak movie that made me feel like Clark Gable. What did you think of The Phantom Menace, my beautiful geekies? Let me know if you grew up with the prequels, if you still like this movie, if you never liked this movie. Let's all respect each other because we all love Star Wars and we can all love different movies in different levels. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. I have finally started the series I most wanted to do in this channel, and that is reviewing Star Wars. Can't wait to bring you Attack of the Clones with a special guest next week. And so until then, you stay beautiful, you stay geeky, and if you haven't done so yet, click the subscribe button and the bell so we can be geeky united!